Welcome to the Blonde Runner podcast with Coach Lora Erickson, where she shares her healthy living tips as a running and triathlon coach and mother of 4.
Hi, it's Coach Lora Erickson with blonderunner.com. Today I wanted to talk about race reports. What goes into a race report, maybe why they're beneficial. For me, race reports are invaluable. There's something I encourage all of my athletes to do after events. For me, I always tend to relive events several times, probably because that's what I enjoy. I enjoy the racing component of what I do. So things that I'll include in the race report would be usually what race it was, what the distance was, where it was located, even how I got there. You know, did I fly? Did I drive? You know, how did I get myself there? Other things that I include in a race report would be the temperature, like what time did I get up? Being a runner, the first thing I usually do in the morning is check the temperature. I want to see what it's going to do that day and when I want to get my workout in. So I do check that temperature right when I get up, and before a race I always do that as well. I usually check it within a half hour or an hour. That lets me know, is it really getting hot quickly? Because if it is, that might change my nutrition strategy for a race. So you can prepare all you want for races, but when it comes down to race day, that is what's going to determine what you're really going to do. Weather may not be what you expected. I know a race this year, I was planning on a lot hotter race, and then it ended up being very cold. So that changes everything that you would do for that race. Other things that I would include in a race report would be even clothing that I wear. I've had races before, so I'll document the time. The reason I do race reports too is I often will repeat a race, so like maybe I'll go to it the next year. And it's hard to remember that race and exactly what happened. If you have a race report, I keep a file on each race, and so I can keep my race report in there and read it, you know, close to when I'm going to do it again. And it's like, oh yeah, last year it was that. Oh yeah, I did wear that last year. Other things that I'll do too is write down what I can do better. So maybe it was really cold at the start up the canyon in a race, but it got really hot and I shouldn't have worn my arm warmers or something like that. So I'll document that in the race report. So it really helps aid me the next time that I do it. And I actually, with that documenting of the temperatures, that really helps me too, because I'll say, wow, it's colder this year at the start, or it's warmer. Sometimes it's hard to gauge how you're feeling. It's hard to kind of go by feel. I usually do go by the weather numbers in terms of what to wear. Other things that I'll include in there is how, like subjective information, like how I was feeling. What was I saying to myself? I know in previous video, I talked about mantras and things that you can do to help yourself mentally through races. A lot of times I will document, you know, what happened, how did I feel. Oftentimes I'll also document the terrain. If altitude was a big factor in a race, I'll document that. Was the course harder? If I've done that race before, I'll often say, well, this race, it changed this year. It's a little different. Other information that I add is what the results were. One of the most important pieces for me is really the nutrition component. I often will write down what I had when. I had a gel at 43 minutes into the race. I had this much, you know, many ounces of water. That helps me, and then I can see, you know, how was I feeling on the run? Was I nauseous? Did I feel good? Was I spunky? Did I need a little more nutrition? Did I get too much? It helps me fine tune what I'm doing for the next time. Other things that I might document, and this is, you know, over the years I've done triathlon, you kind of learn from every race, and then that kind of builds, and each race you can bring something new into it and hopefully improve. I remember one race, it was really dark in the morning setting up transition, and I didn't even think to bring a flashlight or anything, and so now I learned and improved, and actually a headlamp is the best because then you have both hands free. So that's, you know, things that you learn, things that you can document in a race report. And this is super beneficial. So I hope you'll take the time just to, especially write it down when it's fresh on your mind, like right after you do a race. Then that, it can really benefit you. It can help you the next time you do it. And even if you don't think you'll ever do that race again, I've done races that I didn't think I was going to do again, and I ended up doing them again. And I looked back on that race report. It benefited me when I experienced that race again. Because sometimes you forget, oh, that's right, I did go down a big hill and then had to be in the right gear to go up, you know, uphill right away. So things to remind yourself on course or anything like that really helps. So hopefully you'll take the time to write race reports and find some benefit in them. I hope this was helpful for you, and I hope you'll visit the Blonde Runner channel on YouTube again so I can give you more information and more tips. Until then, live well. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Healthy Living Podcast. Be sure and check the show notes for resources or links that we mentioned in the show. You can also find them on my website at blonderunner.com. blonderunner.com. You can also find me on Instagram at The Blonde Runner with an E and Coach Lora Erickson, and that's Lora. Before you forget, I hope that you will follow this podcast and like it so you don't miss an episode. Also, it really helps if you leave a review so other people can find it, and share it with your friends. Until next time, live well.